Ain't no budget, bitch. Ain't no budget, bitch. Terence Bud Crawford, Earl the Truth Spence Jr. The rematch? Not likely. And if you follow this channel, I've been telling you that. When I first heard the numbers, and then it settled down to where the numbers would be, I said it then as well. I've been told y'all that this ain't probably now. Not to say that it never happens again, but not likely anytime soon. Let's talk about it. What up, YouTube? Big T.O. Heavy Bad Boxing TV, man. Get your goof ass in here. Hit the bag. Hit that like button for your boy. That helps the channel. You know, I appreciate that love. Shout out my gang, man. D1 Merc 1ML21 Skinny JT Black Jesus. My guy, Troy Jack. Keywan Rebel Life Modern King. Letitia YK World. My guy, Tyree Celestine. Big shout out, Sean Dine. Punch Drunk 412. Appreciate y'all, man. Big love. Big love. All right, now, if you guys can remember, Steven Espinoza said that he was basically saying that, you know, it was some issues with Crawford and the rematch, basically trying to get him to stand up and own 54. You know, he didn't want him to use the contract language against Errol Spence. Really, you know, basically trying to put him in a pocket to do the rematch at 54 if it was going to happen at all. And the reason for that is people feel like Errol Spence would have a better chance at making a competitive fight versus Bud Crawford at 54. I think we all seen what happened, of course, at 47, and a lot of people are probably a lot less likely to want to see that fight again. It's going to be extremely hard for Showtime to repackage that, put a bow on it, and try and sell it to the public again, right? That's going to be hard. You would be unlikely to see the numbers that you reach the first time around. Now, it was reported that this fight, in fact, did somewhere between 50,000 pay-per-view buys to 675,000 pay-per-view buys. At first I heard from 650 to 750, but it looks like it's got narrowed to 650 to 675,000 pay-per-view buys, which translates to about $55 million roughly that this fight grossed, pay-per-view wise, right? Then the gate did a little over 20 million, like 21 million, right? So there was, in fact, a turnaround on the investment in this fight, right? But we got to look at this. Let's think about this. It was reported that both Errol Spence and Bud Crawford both at least got up to $25 million for this fight, right? So their purses alone wipes out the pay-per-view numbers, right? So if the pay-per-view buys gross 55 million, there's basically 5 million that they gained from pay-per-view buys, right? And then another 21 million-ish from the gate. So you're looking at, you know, about 26 million that they have potentially made off this fight. Now, out of that 25 million, you got to think about what they spent, right? So they had to pay those guys 100 million, or 50 million between the two of them, right? And then everything it went to putting together this event, plus the undercard fighters, all of the staff, you know, everything. So, you know, at the end of the day, to put out, you know, over 100 and let's just say 115 million, let's just say 110 million to be safe, and to put out 110 million to make 15, maybe 20 million, I don't think, you know, I think Showtime's reluctant to do that again with these particular fighters, especially at the same weight, right? And you can kind of say that's maybe why Steven Espinoza was in a position where it just seems like, he was on Bud's head about trying to stick to the contractual language versus, just giving in to Errol Spence wanting to have the fight at 54, and not, using that language to kind of pivot around Errol Spence. But all signs point to the fact that Steven Espinoza and Showtime just aren't really interested in this. Listen, as anticipated as this fight was, had it been different, the rematch would already be announced and on our heading towards our doorstep. Let's keep it a buck, right? That took place the end of July. Here we go, August, September. We're now in October. We're pushing, towards 3 months later. Typically, a rematch, especially of a fight of this magnitude, happens in a span of 4 to 6 months. And we don't look like we haven't even heard anything about it. Nothing's really been, in the news and in the press or old media, new media, continuously about a rematch. Errol Spence team is tight-lipped. Bud out here, he talking, but I think he understands that, Showtime's probably not interested in this rematch at this point. Steven Espinoza did mention the rematch happening maybe next year, even late next year. And by that time, maybe it can draw some interest. But again, it's just a hard sell, especially at 47 after, the one-sided ass whipping he put on Errol Spence. It's hard, and I kept saying this because when you really look at it and think about it, it's only really the Errol Spence fans, the fanboys, who really want to see this rematch again. Right? Whether it was at 47 or 54, they just want their man to get another crack at it. But when you look at all of the expert talks, all of the fighters, pretty much almost all of them, except for a few, but the majority, the consensus is that, whether it's at 47 or 54, this was a bad style matchup, and Bud Crawford dog walks Errol Spence again. And Showtime sees this. Espinoza sees this. Listen, this is a extremely, they've been around 37 years. They know what the hell's going on in the sport of boxing. They know everything that goes on the marketing side, what fight projections could be. They understand what has transpired, and they know that it's a hard sell, right? At the end of the day. And unfortunately for Errol Spence, he might not be able to get his lick back just yet. I just believe at this point in time, they truly are not interested in putting this fight out there. Again, 650,000 to 675,000 pay-per-view buys. That translated to 55 million. Now, if they did Tank and Ryan numbers, yeah, sure. We would have already got the official announcement for the second fight, for the rematch. If they grossed over 100 million, sure, it would have been worth the investment. But I just don't believe the turnaround was enough. And then you got to think about the rematch. These guys are going to want something in the same neighborhood. And more than likely, it's just not going to be worth it. We're going to talk about this on my live screen tonight as well. Y'all stick around for that. Hopefully, I should get on in at about 10 p.m. Eastern time. That's all I got for y'all on this one, man. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, not likely to happen. And I told y'all. All right, man, that's all I got for y'all on this one, man. Big T.O. Heavy Bag. Talk to him, Roger.
Most motherfuckers don't know shit about boxing.